Hey, it's Joe Mazumdar from Exploration Insights at the Metal Investor Forum in Vancouver. And I've got Mike Byron from Nighthawk Gold. Mike?
Pleasure, Joe.
And so Nighthawk Gold has got, I believe, a district-scale land package in the Northwest Territories of Canada looking for gold. Is that right?
That's true, Joe. We started compiling that asset back in 2010 with the idea of putting together a regional gold play centered on an Archean greenstone terrain and quite frankly, an Archean gold camp with a former producer at the center. And at the time, the idea was to surround the former producer with the best assets that we could acquire through staking, and then approach the federal government who were reclaiming that former producer and request that we could, come to terms on a deal and roll that into our regional land package, effectively giving us a multi-million ounce opportunity at the cornerstone of this regional gold play.
But from what I understand, like Kolomak, the original open pit was rather low grade, but you're looking at this completely different.
Yeah, so when I first got the database of Kolomak, I found the last person that did the database and was able to get my hands on it and saw that the former producers went bankrupt. They didn't mine it out. And what they left was over 1 million ounces in a near surface environment with ample room to grow the asset. But as to you, to answer your query about low grade, there were high grade in some of the intercepts. And so the other thing that they failed to understand was Kolomak is a differentiated mafic sill, which is kind of unique and rare in the Archean, especially in Canada. But, it allowed me to zero in on one of the world's largest gold camps at Kalgoorlie in Western Australia, and they share the same characteristics in terms of the age of rock, style of mineralization, age of mineralization, regional stratigraphic package, and so on and so forth. The one thing they didn't share was high grade. And Kalgoorlie had a long history of it, but Kolomak didn't. So to me, it was either Kolomak that was dissimilar in that way, or that no one actually explored for high grade at Kolomak because they didn't have a model to drive their exploration. And that allowed me to spot a hole in 2014, testing one of the Kalgoorlie type targets, and we intercepted 52 meters to 7.8 grams, which is not traditional Kolomak style mineralization. So that's effectively opened up Kolomak, and that's what we're trying to do is rebrand what Kolomak was to what it is now, which is a multi-million ounce host with high grade potential.
And I gather like Kinross's private placement shows that the majors are interested in these district scale land packages with high grade potential in safe jurisdictions like Canada.
Exactly. And, what I found this is our 7th drill program in the Northwest Territories. Permitting has been incredibly simple and easy. Lots of support from the territorial and the First Nations governments. So we've had no encumbrances, in our progress to date. And yes, regional plays, like we put this together just for that, a regional play centered on a multi-million ounce producer with high grade opportunities and to build out on that. But more importantly, those deposits that are satellite to Kolomak, none of them have been drilled below 200 meters and they all share the same thing, grade and thickness. And, that's the sort of thing that excites me now is now we've got the market's attention on Kolomak. Now we can mature our storyline that Kolomak's not the only animal here. There's all these other satellite deposits that we'll be looking at and evolving over time.
So in terms of evolving over time, your working capital position is rather significant now. So you can basically budget, which is really convenient for a junior for a few years now.
That's correct. We've got about $37 million in the treasury. So as you said, that's ample funds in order for us to execute on this idea that we're excited about. We're going to kick off. We have kicked off a 25,000 meter drill program that started this winter. We've got 3 drills up there now. The 3rd drill will be in operation here shortly. I've kicked off extensive geophysical programs. In particular, we're doing 3D IP over one of the high-grade domains. That was the discovery at 1.5 to better understand the plunging geometry. And that'll obviously help us direct future drilling. And we're doing a lot of 2-dimensional IP over parts of the sill that look like zone 1.5 did before we drilled it. So basically, we're using IP to help us either upgrade a target or dismiss a target before we drill it.
Right. And so... before we end the interview, but what's your next sort of catalyst that any investor can expect in the next 6 to 12 months?
Well, we'll have news flow here coming very shortly, and once that that conveyor belt of news releases starts, it'll continue. Every 3 weeks we'll have news out, and that'll be carrying on for about 2 years. So I would say, stay tuned. This story is evolving. It's going to evolve quickly. We're going to be looking at some of those regional targets that I talked about, and they had substantial hits, like some of the drilling we did in the Letta Arm area in particular. You're talking of 20-some meters of almost 7 grams of material within the top 100 meters. So the Indian Lake Belt has not been explored below 200 meters. And that's a good place for a geologist to hang his hat.
Great. So there's a story. Mike Byron, CEO of Nighthawk Gold, plenty of catalysts and plenty of working capital to fund a district-scale land package in northern Canada. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Joe. Pleasure.
Cheers.